All right, welcome back to the channel. Warhammer Man back in the studio, and today just doing a end of year wrap up video. And I thought, what better to do an end of year wrap up video than to show off a couple of my unfinished projects. It's not uncommon in this space for everybody to show off all their finished projects or talk about how many miniatures they completed or painted or their top achievements or whatever. I kind of want to go the other way with it. I want to talk about loose ends, and then I want to set a New Year's resolution for myself to tie up some of those loose ends. So let's take a look at some of my biggest loose ends, and we'll kind of go from there. So I think for most people, it's no secret that the Warhammer 40k community has been forever talking about, discussing, wishing for, praying for, hoping for plastic Thunderhawk gunship. And I'm not talking about, the little itty bitty plastic Thunderhawk gunship. I'm talking about the real thing, not that Aeronautica Imperialis thing. So I started this project a long time ago. I have briefly shown it off on the channel before. Just to kind of give you an idea of how dated this thing is. It goes back to when the only flyer available for Warhammer 40,000 was the Valkyrie for the Imperial Guard. So this was basically a kitbash combination from a couple of kits at that time period, and my attempt to create my own Thunderhawk gunship. Since then, I've made a bunch of other iterations of the Thunderhawk gunship. Many of them I have shown off online. Quite a few of them I have sold off as well. And I really like them, and they're simple and easy to make for, more like mass production. As where this one just has a ton of customizations, tons and tons of plastic art, bits that are nearly impossible to get or require like multiple kits to get a hold of what you need. So this one's not as viable for the masses, but sort of my combination of the old school Thunderhawk art, the kits available, and as close to like the measurements as possible from like the actual forgeworld Thunderhawk, the original one, and then also a little bit of like the newer aesthetic as well. So as you can kind of look at it and see, there's obviously plenty of plastic art and like full on like scratch made stuff involved. Also has quite a bit of like Baneblade parts as well, and then finally Land Raider. So it's not nearly as wide as a Land Raider. It can be kind of deceptive because when you look at it, you can see like kind of the Land Raider form to the front of it. But I actually took a Land Raider and then I chopped out like the middle like third of it and then put the Land Raider back together. So it's like a Slim Raider or a, the equivalent. I then basically took like the top portion of the Baneblade where the turret mounts onto, recentered the mount because it's like sort of off to one side, and then went ahead and used like the Baneblade turret with a couple extra bits on it. And then, essentially I have the Valkyrie engines on there. I have like the back portion of a Baneblade on there, and then a bunch of just different random bits. But overall, it's mostly, bits and plastic art from there. So we could take a closer look. Has a couple of cool features. Essentially like the X-Wing ability. Obviously, that's a Thunderhawk thing. Maybe people don't know about it because they don't really show it off often that way. But, this was always part of the Thunderhawk design. Obviously, the top turret rotates as well. So, that's not really like a part of the Thunderhawk. Normally, it's like more of a fixed thing, but I thought it would be cool to have the rotating top turret. Can kind of go up and down, etc. The little like bombs or missiles or whatever can kind of like move freely. The bolters on the sides can rotate. There's little like shields and everything that go with that. These guys can like rotate as well. They're not, a lot of this stuff is not glued so that I can remove it and paint it. And then when I put it back in, it'll be set up to go. The front hatch opens up and is magnetized. Just a lot of cool little customizations. There's like a little crew in there that I may like rework or whatever. It also comes apart for ease of painting, etc. I have it set up so it can go on a flying stand and actually like cover. Pretty cool overall. Definitely pleased with this thing, but it is one of the largest pieces on my pile of shame. But pretty cool. I like it. I like how it came out. one day I would like to, complete it, actually paint it. There's obviously still some finishing touches to go on it before I actually paint it. A couple things I got to clean up and fix. I had the doors open up before, and they kind of got like beat up from opening up and that. I had to use the front little hatches for another project, so got to get a couple more of those from a Land Raider at some point in time. Finish the cockpit and crew, etc. But the truth is, I love this thing. I'm definitely going to finish it one day. And I think it's the type of thing where I'm going to make some time for myself and work on this. But the truth is, that's not even what this video is about today. So, but before we do, just for a little size reference, because sometimes it's difficult to tell. But before we move on, just for a size reference, that's a custom Space Marine captain on a scenic base. And then just one more size reference, the one and only Gazkul Thraka. So you can see this thing is pretty massive, pretty large, pretty cool. And obviously you can see with the Land Raider and the Baneblade turret gives you some reference, but once you see a Space Marine and, the mightiest of all orcs next to it, kind of gives you a little more perspective. But again, this is all about my pile of shame, and to tell you the truth, this video is really not even about the Thunderhawk gunship. It's about something else. It's a sort of like, I guess a bigger, I don't want to say disappointment, but a bigger goal, bigger project, bigger kitbash. Let's take a look at that. So this is the biggest model I've ever worked on, the biggest kitbash or customization or whatever you want to call it. Pretty much doesn't get bigger than this. If you're not familiar with this or can't tell just by looking at it with a glance, this is a Sokar pattern Stormbird. Again, another gigantic Space Marine spaceship, gunship, whatever. They obviously have a forgeworld kit for this. I really like the forgeworld kit. I think it's great, and I modeled this one in many ways off of it, but also tried to like sort of have a little bit more of like the relevant Space Marine kind of aesthetic to it. Obviously, it's made with a bunch of different current kits from the line, and then once again, quite a bit of scratch-made stuff as well. So there are some aspects of this that I absolutely love. The measurements are basically the same or very close to like the Forgeworld measurements. There's also a couple aspects of it that I don't exactly love, like the little void shield generator thing. It's basically like a bunch of like weird smoke launchers kind of jammed together. Not sure I love that. Probably could do something cooler with it. So who knows? But I mean, I made it so it can be taken off. So I could put something else there if I decide to. Also have like obviously, the big hole where you could put on a Baneblade turret. That's like the top part from the Baneblade. So I could always put like the Thunderhawk's turret on top of there if I wanted, or just put some kind of like plug over top that hole. Maybe put some lights down in there to light up the inside. I don't know. I mean, it's still a work in progress, but obviously I've never seen anybody else build one of these before. I've seen a couple random customizations online that were pretty cool, like some kitbashes of like a Stormbird or whatever, but nothing close to this, nothing close to like looking like the initial or original Forgeworld model. So, but this is the biggest piece in my pile of shame. I guess hardly a pile of shame, maybe more like my pile of gray and white. But I figured what better time to show this off. I thought about going through and showing off all the models I painted this year and how many, and it was a lot. I counted up how many I painted, and it was a lot. But there's a couple things I guess that kind of come to mind here. I have a lot of models of my own personally, and then obviously I complete a lot of models as well. And if I just kept every model I ever painted, I would have way too many models, and they would be everywhere, and I wouldn't be able to store them. So part of the hobby that I love so much and being a commission painter is getting to paint stuff for other people that brings them joy, but then also getting rid of it when I'm done. So there's a lot of models that after I finish them, I'm like, man, I'm going to miss this. This came out awesome. I wish it was part of my collection. But, I could always make another one if I wanted to. Or maybe something I painted a few years ago, I could paint now and it'd be so much better. So there's definitely like ups and downs to it. I think there's like a weird stigma in the hobby where it's like, hey, don't ever get rid of your old painted models because you'll regret it. Keep everything you ever paint. I gotta disagree with that. Like that's cool for a while, but after like years and decades and just forever in the hobby, there's forever new models coming out. You should be getting exponentially better at painting over time. And as long as you're like staying dedicated and you got the time for it, you can always paint more stuff. So, you know, I kind of go the opposite with it. I'm not going to tell you exactly how many models I painted this year, but it is a lot. I might even do some kind of giveaway contest. If you can guess how many models I painted, we'll kind of figure out something with that. But, you know, and maybe I'll do a recap of like all the pictures of the commissions and everything, and then a couple of my own models that I painted along the way. But the truth is, there's no way I would have painted as many models if I wasn't, you know, commissioned studio. There's no way I would continually paint as many models because it would just be too much value tied up in them and no place to put them. And I mean, it would just be a full-time job trying to store them and, you know, keep them from getting like dusty or broken or finding somewhere to put them out of the way. So, you know, there's arguments to be made about, you know, don't get rid of like your first models or, you know, your painted models or whatever. But I kind of like the other idea of it. You know, I like the idea of only having some models, not just keeping everything you ever painted, not having, you know, massive 100 million point armies and stuff like that. You know, I think focusing your attention is just as important as, you know, accumulating mass amounts of models. But again, that's not what we're here for today. We'll do something with that in the future, kind of like a wrap up or recap, and then some kind of giveaway for whoever guesses closest, maybe like without going over for how many models I painted in 2021. But we can do that anytime. Let's look at the Sokar pattern Stormbird first. So just kind of looking at it, obviously, there's a lot of details that still need to be wrapped up on it, but the footprint is there, the outline, the silhouette, whatever you want to call it. So it has quite a few kits on it, lots and lots of stormraven parts, engines, wings. It has a lot of like, you know, random bits from tanks as well, las cannons that can basically like rotate, custom made like landing gear, all kinds of different stuff. It's got part of a Baneblade hull, part of Stormraven hull, lots and lots of plasticard. You know, you can kind of pick out tons and tons of little like details and bits and all that stuff. And the truth is, I could probably just keep slapping bits on this thing forever, plasticard, etc. And I plan to adding a lot more to it. But right now, let's look at what we have done and kind of discuss some of the stuff and, you know, some of my goals. And then, you know, maybe I'll set a goal for when I'm going to have this thing completed, built, and maybe even painted. Not even sure which chapter I'll go with. You know, Ultramarines? Is it going to be Blood Angels? Those are like my two Space Marine armies I've played for the longest time. So just kind of starting with the front here. So I did make it so that there's two key features on the front. First off, the front little piece can open up. So Space Marines can disembark through the front. It's got like its little assault hangar. But also, you know, we have the room for the two pilots right here. But this front piece actually comes off completely. So we can take that front piece off, and then you can kind of look down in there. Obviously, there's plenty of room to put like actual pilots in place. And then I can put like, you know, glass canopies over top of it and everything. Make sure I lock down like the detail on that. And then obviously inside of the front there, you know, you can see the detail where Space Marines would be waiting to get out, attack, etc. You can see down into like the actual ship and the details within and everything like that. This thing is absolutely massive, so it's very difficult to show off like the pure size of it. Because to tell you the truth, my camera's as far away as possible it can go on the stand with my current setup. So maybe at some point in time, I'll do something a little different to kind of show off the massive size of it and depth of it. But in the meantime, we're kind of limited by how I can position it and rotate it, etc. But yeah, that's the front. So it has like its little thruster things. That's one of the aesthetics I really like about like the new kits that, you know, matches, because the actual Sokar Stormbird that they sell through forgeworld is sort of like, you know, old school, like OG kind of like Horus Heresy looking thing. This one I got like a little more of like the new school Space Marine aesthetic. So here we see it has those same like thrusters as well on the wings here, on the body here, and then finally on the, you know, wingy thingies up there as well. And then obviously it has the 4 main like giant thrusters also. So these are kind of like the stabilizers. Those are like the actual like propulsion thrusters. And then, well, let's just kind of circle around this thing. And again, it's not done. There's lots of little bits I have to fill in or little details that need to be addressed at some point in time. But I think we can overall, you know, get the look of it. So let me just kind of tilt it up here and see what we can do. So there's our head-on shot. And as you can see, I basically did like the customized like vents here. Those are like the main intakes. And then obviously like a bunch of other just random little details along here. Essentially like just kind of get the overall streamlined look of the Stormbird. There's a couple things that I probably would do differently now if I redid it that I don't love. There's a couple things that, you know, I'm real happy with. But the truth is, it's always just nice to make some progress. So that's kind of like the front little profile of it. The heavy bolters on the back here, like kind of move side to side and up and down. And, you know, they're left separate right now so that they could be removed for painting and everything. It's got like the big bombs or missiles on the sides there. The little like las cannon pieces. You know, the old one or like the forgeworld one has like the round kind of like aesthetic to them. Looks more like the ones on the Fire Raptor. Mine are like more, you know, the side of like a Land Raider style. You know, and that's what they came from. But they rotate forward and backward. You can kind of like alter them however you want. But overall, lots of cool details. Real happy with it came out. I like the overall like front look of it. Tough to even like keep it lit just because it's so massive and draws like the light directly onto it. But let's just keep kind of rotating it around here. So that's kind of like the you know, front slash side kind of view. These little hatches can be removed. Obviously these rotate. Still need to add a bunch of like detail around here. These are a little more jagged and stick out more than I like. I wish I would have done these like side pieces a little more just like vertical. They kind of have like a little bit of an angle kind of coming out at the bottom. So I don't love it, but they look good overall, you know. And these are like the back hatches from a whatchamacallit, stormraven. So they obviously rotate down. Dudes can like disembark through here. There's like some internal detail pieces in there as well that can be removed. I'll show those off in a minute, but essentially wanted to make sure that I could get in there and paint them and whatnot. I'm not sure exactly what I'll do to be able to like open it back up to paint the inside or how I'll do that as this thing's obviously massive. I thought about, you know, making some cuts and being able to remove the top so that I can like paint and detail the inside, put some lights in, etc. But, you know, we'll have to see. But, you know, essentially we have that. They flip open and closed. Overall, looking for like the forgeworld kind of style. You can see underneath there, right behind the second las cannon turret, there's like, you know, a second set of like intake vents right there for like the actual like thrusters or engines. You can see like a lot of the extra details that I've added on. And there's like the side slash profile view. You know, it leans forward. I'm not sure if it's supposed to lean forward quite that much or if it just kind of came out that way. You know, it could be like slightly more, I guess, like horizontal mounted. Maybe like the front landing gear should be a little higher. But in order for like the, you know, front hatch to like touch the ground and these guys to touch the ground, I had to be careful with like how tall I made it and like the angle coming down to like disembark. So maybe the rear ones are just a little too long. Maybe the front ones are a little too short. It's got a big, thick rear end though. And I'm happy with how it looks, came out and everything. And, you know, I'm not one to like redo a ton of stuff. So once I make like good progress on something, if I'm overall happy with how it came out, you know, maybe I'll do it different next time, but I'm not just going to like tear it apart and start over on something. So, you know, and I'm overly critical of myself, obviously, at times, but So the lattice cannon's like fully rotated in here. They're still removable. There's lots of little like extra bits that can be added on, like the little targeting things and everything. But overall, you know, you can get like kind of the look of it and everything. Don't mind that it's a little dusty. But let's keep kind of rotating it around here. So that's it from the rear end. Obviously, the camera kind of like distorts the view of it, so it makes the back look even bigger. But I promise you, she does have a big old booty. Definitely some junk in the trunk, some thickness in the rear end department, which I'm happy with. I like that because one of the key criteria for this thing, and you know, anybody that's obviously seen this or seen it on forgeworld, it has like the giant rear hatch, and you know, there's obviously rules for it for 40k. It's so many points you'd never be able to use it in a normal game, but maybe like Apocalypse or something like that. But obviously one of the pictures they have, you know, it can, and rules wise, it can actually carry like a ton of dudes, but also some vehicles like dreadnoughts, and also actually a rhino. So I wanted to make sure that the hatch is like so big that it could like open up and potentially be like, you know, the disembark for a tank. So the old school rhinos and the ones that come out of like the Stormbird on from Forge World are like a little smaller. The like old edition, like, you know, third edition, whatever rhinos. It wasn't gonna work for me because I needed it to fit like the current aesthetic. So I had to build the rear end just slightly bigger so that I can make sure that well, that a current rhino could come out of there. Just so happens the one that I have is Sisters of Battle, so don't mind the you know, little team group effort going on here, but essentially that is very clearly a full size you know, Imperial / Sisters of Battle rhino. So, you know, it can pull all the way forward. When it hits the pivot point, I had to make sure that it didn't hit the top there because obviously it has to be realistic. And then obviously the angle is just high enough or low enough so that it doesn't, you know, get caught up on the front there, and it could basically drive out and disembark from inside. So pretty cool. Definitely gives like a little bit of a squared look to the rear end. There's definitely a couple things, you know, I can kind of change the overall aesthetic of it, modify it, etc. But let's kind of rotate it around here. Very happy with how it came out, and obviously achieved the main goal, which is that the tank fits in there and can come out. So it's going to be difficult to see, I think, light-wise inside of there. But I have put like quite a few details, like some screens and monitors and stuff on the wall. And then also I made like a couple of these pieces that can come out. So these are like some bits from a drop pod, just attached to, you know, loosely attached to a piece of plastic card for right now. But basically just so that we could have, what is it, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 10 dudes can basically like strap in. And there's one of these on each side. So that's like 20 bros. Obviously the rhino can be full of bros too. So that's 30. I can't remember like the rules and capacity and everything for this. But I wanted to make sure that there was like some little options for it. You know, and obviously there's still a ton of room inside here. I'm not sure how well we'll be able to see, but and you can actually see all the way up to the front. There's like a little ramp, and it actually like goes out the front hatch there. So, you know, you basically have like access to the entire thing. So again, still far from complete, but you know, I had a couple goals that I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to make myself a Stormbird, wanted it to match the current aesthetic, and definitely did that. It is 100% the biggest piece in my pile of gray or pile of shame. Still a ways to go. It would take me quite a bit of time just to like finish this up and get it ready for paint, let alone actually like paint it and have it done. But, you know, it's been sitting around for a while. Every once in a while, I kind of pull it out and look at it and just kind of, you know, awe at its magnificence. But, you know, one day I'll get to it. But everybody always shows what they completed for the year and everything. And I thought about doing one of those videos as well. And I thought, you know what, let me go the opposite direction. Let me show something from my pile of shame, something that I should complete that I haven't. But maybe I will one day. Maybe with your guys' motivation. I'm curious to hear what you think about it. Obviously, you know, there's a couple things I'm critical about. I would expect you to be the same. But overall, pretty freaking awesome. And, you know, not a, you know, this is one of a kind, obviously. I mean, there's not a lot of models that you can literally reach your entire arm inside of. So, you know, definitely massive in size. Um, and I guess I'll go ahead and flip it over. So that is the underside of it. I just kind of show off like a little bit of the details you can't really get from the top. There's like the cool little missiles under there. You know, obviously the landing gear and like the way that it kind of stows away. Like the missile slash rocket deals right here. You can see some of like the guns a little more clearly. Obviously it has plenty of work that could be done to the bottom of it before it's, you know, ready to go. But pretty cool overall. Tons and tons of detail. I'm very happy with the thing. Looking forward to working on it again sometime when I have a little more time. But it is massive. Definitely the biggest project that I have ever undertaken, like single model wise. And definitely awesome. I mean, I'm very happy with how it's come out so far, but still a ways to go. So that is it. That is my single biggest model in my pile of gray, pile of shame, whatever. Also my biggest project that I've ever undertaken in the hobby. And also, you know, obviously my biggest kit bash as well. One day I hope to have it finished and continue to work on it. Again, just for size comparison, there is a customized captain on like a giant display base. There it is with Gazkul Thraka next to it, ready to try to tear it apart. I know he does quite a bit of damage, so if this thing landed and he went ballistic on it, I don't know. He'd probably F it up at least a little bit. I'm not sure if he would take it out, though. I think probably be better off in hand-to-hand combat. So if you were going to destroy this thing, I guess Gaza is probably the way to go. His best bet would probably just be to like grab onto it, maybe try to get inside and then tear it apart from the inside. I'm not sure, but overall, just for a little size comparison there, let me know what you think of the Stormbird. Do you think I should finish it? What faction should I make it? You know, you going to build one now? Do you have any questions about it? What parts I used? How I made it? Should I cut it apart and make templates so you can make your own? That's probably not going to happen, but hey, you know, let me know what you think. So just for one final kind of size comparison, we can see, you know, the Rhino, the Thunderhawk, and the Stormbird all in the shot together, and just like the pure size difference. You know, even if we weren't going to like play a game with these things, you could pretty much like have a battle take place inside of a hangar and not actually use the Stormbird for anything. Maybe have like the mission be to get out of there. Maybe it'd be like a cool kill team terrain objective, like game board piece, etc. And the goal is to like, you know, fix it or destroy it or whatever. But you could definitely like play a game around it as a centerpiece. Probably more functionally than actually play a game with it. But it is massive. I think it would be cool to have, you know, basically a game of kill team in a hangar with like these two bad boys or one of them, you know, and you had to like do like a saboteur mission or something like that. I don't know. There's all maybe an escape mission, something like that. Let me know what you think. I always try to be like creative and think about like the missions and whatever. You know, how you could use these things outside of like actual gameplay. Because the truth is, I mean, I've used the Thunderhawks a couple times in games before, in like big old multiplayer games, and it was like super fun. But there's so many points, it's ridiculous. Never used the Stormbird before. That would be pretty awesome. I guess I would have to make some kind of flying base for it. Would probably help, or like bases. But yeah, let me know what you think. Maybe we'll play a game of Kill Team with the Stormbird and the Thunderhawk, you know, kind of like themed mission or something like that along the way. I think it'd be cool to like basically paint it up and use it as terrain when you're not playing a game. I think it'd be cool to have like a themed mission or something like that. But yeah, let me know your opinion. Let me know what you think. You know, is this awesome? Is it a waste of time? I mean, total parts and everything to build these. I think I probably have in the Thunderhawk, you know, I didn't actually buy like full kits. I bought like bits online to build them from. So I like basically have a Land Raider and a bunch of bits. And then same thing for the Stormbird. I basically like, there's not even an actual kit in there. I guess there's like the majority of a Stormraven. So arguably you could buy one Stormraven and then a ton of bits and build that. But I don't even think I did that. I think I just bought bits for it. So I think basically like the Thunderhawk, you know, and granted back in the day when I started building this thing, the Rhino was like, or the Land Raider was only like $60 at the time. The thrusters were like another 20. And then the Baneblade turret and stuff like that, I think I paid like $30 for. So with bits and everything, I probably have like 100 to 120 bucks in the Thunderhawk. And then all that plastic card. So, I mean, I don't know how much a Thunderhawk is. I don't know how much a Stormraven is. I want to say it's probably like 400 to 500 for a forgeworld Thunderhawk. And I want to say it's probably like 750 to 1250 for the Stormbird. So, honestly, like, is it worth making your own Thunderhawk? Probably not for the amount of time you put into it. You could probably just, like, go to a job and just work and then buy one. But for the Stormbird, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a hefty couple weeks of going to your job, depending on what kind of money you make after taxes, just to buy a kit. And arguably, you know, it's better than this one. Maybe you like the aesthetic of this one better. But I think making something like that is more viable. You know, and I've thought about that as well. I don't do as many like customizations as I used to. I don't make as much like scratch build stuff or like kitbash stuff. Just because, to tell you the truth, you know, when I wasn't making like great money, it was more beneficial to me to like kitbash terrain or models or like vehicles or stuff like that. But when you start making good money, the amount of time that you actually put into it, even if you're enjoying it, you know, you probably could have just like bought the thing you wanted. And the truth is, you know, one great thing about Games Workshop and their products are, especially with a nice paint job, or even if it's just like a kit still in the box or assembled and built nicely, especially if it's painted nicely, not only do they like hold their value very well, but they actually like gain value. And it's the same with terrain too. You know, you can have like $100 worth of terrain painted up real nicely, and it's worth exponentially more than you paid for it because somebody else will buy it. If you like kitbash some stuff out of like styrofoam or, you know, trash or whatever, it's cool. It looks good on table. People will see it. It's fun to play with or whatever, but it doesn't create the same value to it. So in many ways, I understand like the kit bashing and like the saving money aspect of making stuff. But in the end, once it's all painted up and everything, you have a full table worth of like, you know, scratch made like terrain or whatever. It's probably worth a couple $100 to somebody. If you have a full terrain of like completely, you know, built and painted Games Workshop terrain, you might have a few $100 into it, but it's probably worth a few thousand. So arguably the time that you save, or the money that you save when you make it, costs you money in the end if you ever go to get rid of it. And the time that you spend building it, you know, you could have easily spent, you know, just working a regular job and then just buying what you wanted. So that's my take on it. I'm curious about other people's as well. You know, the way I look at it is, you know, risk reward, or like, you know, asset allocation. You know, time is your asset. You trade your time for money so that you can buy the things you want. So if you can trade your time to go work for someone else and then buy the things you want versus trade your time, you know, scratch building or kit bashing or whatever, to build the things you want, you know, there's definitely like a trade-off there. So, you know, depending what you're making, depending what kind of job you have. So depending what you're looking to build or buy, what your job is, how much it's going to cost you, how much time it's going to take. Are you getting like pure enjoyment out of it? Are you going to be just as happy with the completed product or project as you would have been if you would have just like worked your butt off and bought the real thing? You know, there's a lot of like pluses and minuses. You know, could you 3D print something that's as equivalent? You know, there's a lot of options out there. And in my opinion, it's important to like weigh those different options and make your decisions accordingly. So, you know, if you get a ton of joy out of kitbashing something, or the most important thing is to have something that no one else has, you know, that's obviously a weighting, you know, that's worth more than money. If you have a really good job, it might not make sense for you to spend 50 hours making something when you could have worked, you know, 10 hours and then just bought it. So I think that's kind of like the trade-off, at least for me and how I evaluate it. For me, time is my most precious resource. You know, as crazy as it sounds, you know, I have enough money to buy the things I want, but I don't have enough time because, you know, I need to spend my hobby time working for other people so that they can get the enjoyment out of the things I make. So I have limited time for myself, the same way that most people do between their job and their hobby. Just so happens that my job is my hobby, or my hobby is my job. You know, and there's also a certain amount of joy to it as well. I really, really enjoy completing armies and commissions for people, and then knowing that while they're at their job, working their butt off to do what they do, you know, they basically enable me to create these awesome armies or commissions or whatever, and then let them enjoy their hobby as well. So for me, like the artistic portion of it and the joy that I get, and then also just making a career out of what I love is exponentially rewarding. So there's always pluses and minuses to everything. I think sometimes we get kind of caught up in this mentality that it's like, oh, don't ever sell anything you made because you'll regret it eventually. You know, this is your art. You can never replace it. You know, there's pluses and minuses. And a lot of times with the hobby, everybody decides on one thing and like that becomes law. And I don't think that's the case. Like for me, I don't think kit bashing terrain is worth it. I think it's better to just buy the awesome kits that Games Workshop or other companies offer, or 3D print stuff, and then just modify that. But somebody else might think completely differently, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And same with the kits. You know, I probably have spent enough money and time on the Thunderhawk that it would have made sense to just buy my own. So maybe I should have just done that. As where with the Stormbird, I absolutely love the thing, and I've never seen anybody else make one that's resembles the original, let alone, you know, the amount of time and money I have into it in comparison to like the actual Stormbird isn't even close. You know, I basically have nothing in that thing, maybe $100 if that. And I really have enjoyed creating it. And, you know, it's one of those massive projects that will always be one of my favorites, one of my top projects. You know, the Thunderhawk was the biggest thing I ever built. And then from that, I built, you know, dozens, you know, maybe 20 other Thunderhawks, different ones that were easier, quicker, cost less to produce. I mass produced them, painted them, sold them. And I don't even have any of those left anymore, but I could always build more if I wanted. With the Stormbird, this is basically like, you know, my baby, a project that I had, and something that I have, you know, learned to love. One day I want to see it completed. There's a bunch of extra details. There's a bunch of stuff that's come out since then. You know, 3D printing really wasn't a thing when I started working on this in the same way. So maybe now I can 3D print some of the bits I need to finish it. Also, you know, a lot of other kits have come out since then. So, you know, maybe I can replace some of the stuff I don't love, like the void shield generator, pop that thing off there, and then use like the dome from, what is it, the Impulsor. I really like those domes on there. So maybe that will solve like one of the problems because I really don't like the void shield generator. You know, just stuff like that. But overall, I just wanted to ring in the new year showing off something I've never showed off before. Never been on the channel, never seen anything like it. I hope you guys enjoyed the Thunderhawk, but more importantly, the Sokar pattern Stormbird customization, the biggest and the best. And if you guys are excited about it, you know, I'd love to make some content around it as well. You know, keep working on it, maybe for the channel, and then one day paint it up and kind of, you know, maybe that'll be my New Year's resolution to get the Stormbird done this year, or maybe we'll start small with the Thunderhawk. etc. So let me know what you guys think. Give me some feedback. I appreciate each and every one of you. All the likes, the positivity. Love the hobby, love the Games Workshop, and you know, all the other different brands and games and everything. While I do focus mostly on 40k, you know, Sigmar, and then all like the little off-skirt games, Necromunda, Kill Team, you know, Warcry, etc. The most important thing is like the hobby, and you know, most of us are grown men now. That's kind of branching out a little bit. There's definitely some women and some, you know, boys and girls, like kids in the game as well, or in the hobbies. So it's cool that it's branching out. It's cool that we're sharing it with other people. But the most important thing is, you know, we're all here doing the same thing that we love, enjoying it. So sometimes it's fun to kind of complain or rant about, you know, prices or availability or whatever our main complaint is. Like, you know, the Tau railgun is so good, it's going to kill anything in one hit. But at the end of the game, end of the day, it's just a game. It's supposed to be fun. You got to watch out for like all the toxic negativity and everything, especially with social media. A lot of people, you know, have a hard day or a hard life and go on there and just start venting, and it's just like a cesspool of negativity. So, you know, get away from that. Enjoy yourself. Have fun. Do what you love. You know, if you're enjoying something, you're getting enjoyment out of it. And, you know, when it's all said and done, you feel accomplished. You know, in many ways, this is art or a game or, you know, a hobby or relief or venting or, you know, whatever. For all of us, it's something different. But at the end of the day, if you're enjoying yourself and you're getting what you need out of the hobby, that's all that really matters. You know, your health, mental health, all that is priceless. So with that being said, I want to ring in the new year. Hopefully everybody had a good one. I appreciate at this point in time, 1,200 of you that have come on this journey with me. We started off so small, had a couple like banger Necromunda videos about 2 years ago now in the beginning, and had some good growth. You know, had some little slow spots and some lulls in between, and lately we've just been exploding, and I'm just super excited for all the positivity. Super excited to be able to show off something I've been working on, and hopefully to working on completing 2 of my largest projects ever. You know, but obviously have to focus on my priorities and, you know, dedicate a little bit of my side hobby time to these bad boys. So, well, there you have it. You know, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, whatever you celebrate out there. Everybody stay positive. Hopefully 2022 is going to be a phenomenal year. We'll make the best of it regardless, though. For all the people that have gotten commissions through the studios, all the support on the channel, the likes, the shares, the subscribes. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please keep coming back. Keep, you know, liking and loving the videos, sharing them with your friends. It's only up from here. We're just going to keep on growing. If you have any questions about the models today, or, you know, any comments or anything, please feel free to interact for the algo, you know, or, you know, basically like let me know, and I can answer those for you. So. Well, there you have it, guys. Going to wrap it up there. Happy New Year to everyone. Out with the old 2021 and in with the new. And I can only imagine what 2022 is going to bring as far as projects, painting, and, you know, new models, new paints, all that good stuff. So, well, there you have it, guys. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm out of here.